You know, normally I'd make an intro, but I'm running late for something and I can't exactly be bothered to do it today. You guys know what you're in for, so enjoy the video. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like. I worked really hard on this. Alright, before I start the story, I quickly have to say I have never actually played the Devil May Cry games more than once when I was a small child, so I don't really understand the series as much as I should, and that might lead some of you guys to wonder, why are you making this what if? Well, to be honest, I'm a dude and I happen to have a penis, so I'm the kind of person that can get behind a dude with a sword who can pretty much cut anything, cut through dimensions, has a devil trigger form, and is honestly just a walking aura farmer. Vergil has always been so cool, although personally I know this might be a bit of a shock, but I love Dante a little bit more. That said, I've always wanted to do a like Devil May Cry X Naruto X My Hero video all my life, and I just never did it, honestly, just because I thought that it wasn't going to get too many views. But that's besides the point. I'm yapping a lot and the video hasn't even fully officially started, so let me just get to a couple of things that I'm going to be explaining for the story to even work. Number one, we're going to be downscaling Yamato, the sword that Vergil has, which in case you guys aren't aware of the game, he pretty much wields the sharpest sword in the entire universe, I think it is. And that thing is so sharp that if he was to engage as any other person who's using a sword in the series, he would literally clash with them and their sword would probably get cut like a stick of butter. So in order to avoid that, even though yes, his sword is going to be extremely sharp and still capable of cutting holes through dimensions, meaning that he's still able to essentially teleport with the Yamato, he's not going to be able to just sword clash with someone and their sword's just gonna break, alright? We're going to be saying that the fact that they imbue chakra into the blades pretty much makes it so that the swords don't crack on instinct. But if you don't do that, your sword is going to be shattering upon contact with him. So I feel like that's a bit fair. Secondly, Naruto's going to be the reincarnation of Vergil, so we're not going to be including any Devil May Cry characters. However, I might potentially include him going to the demon realm sometime within the series. Oh, and for those of you guys wondering if he's going to be unlocking devil triggers sometime along the way, of course he's going to unlock that ability. And lastly, actually I kind of changed my mind about something. Lastly, the Jinchuriki, no, not Jinchuriki, but the tailed beasts are going to be inherently having the powers of actual demons in this timeline. So the tailed beasts are going to be real demons, and they were brought from a different universe created by I don't know, just some random demon character in the Devil May Cry series, and this was millennia ago, so nobody even remembers. Let's say that the Otsutsuki are direct descendants, so when they came, they brought that. The chakra fruit actually comes from power, which is actually inherently demon-like. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's say that chakra is sort of based off demon power, but everybody in the Naruto verse has a very, very small percentage of that, and just kind of to scale the verse so that Naruto doesn't just destroy everybody instantly. But trust me, everybody else in their powers is going to be remaining the same. I'm not going to be making anyone stronger, but that's just how the power system is going to work, so that Naruto at age 12 doesn't just kill everybody, because that would just be unfair. Alright, with all my yapping out of the way, hopefully I didn't confuse too many of you guys. Let's finally get started. We begin our story on the day of Naruto's birth. On this particular day, there's not really going to be any changes, but there is going to be one thing that I should note. When Naruto's born, he is instantly sentient, and what I mean by that is that he understands what's going around. Naruto doesn't have the consciousness of a baby in the sense that as a kid, Naruto can sort of instantly realize, okay, I'm born, what's my name, who am I, what's going on? He'd be wondering these questions, but not in the mind of a baby, but almost as though he's been alive. And in case some of you guys are wondering if this is going to be literally Vergil and Naruto, no, absolutely not. But Naruto is just going to be born different, I guess is what I could say. That said, as Naruto would be brought out to the light, suddenly you would have him and Minato make eye contact. As the moment that would happen, a man in a mask and a robe would enter the room, stealing baby Naruto, as Minato would be left with a decision: protect Kushina or protect his baby. Minato would choose, opting to, well, do both. He would do exactly that, and after this moment, he would take the baby Naruto, putting him in a crib, before then telling him to stay safe. He would then, I was gonna say body flicker, but no, he would flying Raijin out of there, and the events of the night would go down just like they do in the original, until Naruto would be face to face with the death of his parents. Naruto, knowing that Minato was his dad, just from looking at his eyes and seeing the way that he stared at him, Naruto would actually feel despair, sadness at the death of both of his parents. He would watch the moment as they would be impaled by the claw of the Nine Tails, and tears would begin coming out of his eyes. He would begin to finally cry, because when Naruto was born, he wasn't a baby that came out crying. He was actually dead silent. He stared at Minato, and it was almost as though he was trying to talk to him in that moment, but now he would simply watch on as his father would die and his lifeless corpse would hit the floor. All of a sudden, Naruto would see that Kurama would have disappeared, and he would yell out roaring, saying something that Naruto couldn't quite understand. It was inaudible. That said, Naruto as a child would grow up with this memory burned into his soul, the death of his parent, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. For those of you guys wondering, is Naruto going to be having white hair in this version? Absolutely. Look no further than the thumbnail that I actually ended up using for this video to see what Naruto's going to look like. I commissioned some sick Vergil Naruto art, so y'all gotta leave a like just for that. Come on now, Naruto x Vergil, that's just top tier. But regardless, Naruto as a kid would grow up, and just like in the original, he would be raised by Hiruzen, which I'm saying raised with quotation marks, because not really. But regardless, eventually the time would come when Hiruzen would pretty much decide that it's time for Naruto to live on his own. Naruto would turn 4.5 years old, and on that day, Hiruzen would essentially drop him off at an apartment, telling Naruto that it's time for him to learn how to take care of himself. This version of Naruto would just be different. He wasn't a childish brat, he wasn't even a knuckleheaded ninja. Naruto was different, is the best way I could put it. Regardless of that, in this specific timeline, we're going to be aging the characters up just a bit, meaning that the time to graduate from the academy is going to be 16 instead of 12, which, speaking of, that should have been the case all along. The time skip should have been Naruto turning from a young 16-year-old to a 19-year-old. That would have been a lot more interesting, but okay, I get it. Little kids going off to war and being a ninja does sound pretty cool for Shonen Jump. Regardless of this, what ends up pretty much taking place over the course of Naruto's childhood would essentially be a kid who doesn't exactly care about how people look at him. But what he does care about is the disrespect, the treating differently, the parents looking at their children and saying, stay away from him, don't talk to him, the clear acts of disrespect that would be taken upon him. He'll go to the store, hear somebody else buy something for a low price, and the second that he comes up and offers money and says nothing, even tries to kind of half smile, the people would look at him and just straight up scam him. An item that would be $5 for somebody else would be $10 for him. It was irritating, it pissed him off. That was all that Naruto had to really deal with in terms of the villagers bullying him or making fun of him as a kid. And you know what? Naruto could tolerate all that. All the glares, all the dirty looks, all the hate in their eyes, Naruto didn't care. Because at the end of the day, it's not like they were doing anything to him or affecting him in his actual life. So with that being the case, the only thing that really did hurt Naruto as much as he hated to admit it was the loneliness. The knowing that every time that he would go home, he would never hear a welcome home or was able to even say, I'm home. Naruto hated that feeling of loneliness, and he decided that one day he was going to be changing all of that. One day he was going to be surrounded by friends, like-minded people who would care about and respect him. But his goals would all change one day. When Naruto would be making his way to the store to get his daily groceries, seeing as this Naruto isn't quite the sucker for ramen that the original Naruto would be. This timeline's Naruto's actually going to be a sucker for pasta, specifically chicken alfredo, which is like the dish that I've been spam making every single day. Like I'd be getting my water, I'd be boiling my pasta, making my chicken, you know what I'm saying? And then I'd be pouring my butter, my heavy whipping cream, my Parmesan cheese, an entire bag of it, and all my seasonings, mix all those things together and let me tell you guys, it is bussin'. But pasta rant out of the way, Naruto one day would find himself making his way to the store trying to get himself a couple of things when randomly, by seeming chance, a bunch of Chunin level ninjas would approach Naruto. 3 of them to be exact. If you guys have seen my What If Naruto Was Immortal, then I'm pretty much going to be using those same characters, and if you haven't, just think of some random characters that are Chunins. They're going to be pretty old, so they're going to be like 17, 16 years old, but the point is that their parents were actually killed off on the night of the Nine Tails attacks, and they've been orphans ever since, being forced to live an incredibly difficult life, and all their lives they blamed the boy who hosts the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Now it was their opportunity to get some payback, and a 9-year-old Naruto who making his way there wearing a scruffy t-shirt that he had, as well as some shorts that he could get his hands on thanks to the village not exactly being the nicest to him, Naruto would all of a sudden, as he's walking, would be pushed into an alleyway, as villagers watching on would actually proceed to ignore this. Seeing what was taking place, they would seemingly act as if they couldn't see anything. And while that was happening, Naruto would fall over as one of the shinobi would have used a chakra, not a chakra strand, but like some strings or rope that aren't visible to the eye, as Naruto would fall down and Naruto would drop all the coins that he had taken with him to go buy his stuff. Naruto would then see a sword or a blade pointed at his face, as they would tell him that today is the day that they get their revenge for what he did to them, that he ruined their lives, and now he was gonna pay. Naruto, seeing this blade in front of his eyes, would begin to sweat as his breathing would get heavy, and Naruto would look at him saying, "What are you talking about?" The man would say, "Don't play dumb with me, you demon." As Naruto, looking down at the ground, would smile saying, "Guess playing dumb isn't going to be working in this situation." Naruto, looking at all 3 of them, would say, 3 against 1 doesn't really seem too fair. As one of them would say, "Tough luck, boy. Life isn't fair." Naruto would smirk and say, "You're right about one thing." As he would say, "What?" And Naruto would say, "Life isn't fair," rushing towards the man with the blade and punching him square in the stomach, causing him to drop his blade. Naruto in this moment would be punched in the face as he would be sent flying onto the ground, but as that was happening, Naruto would have actually picked up the blade and would aim it towards the direction of the 3 brothers, with one of them on the ground holding his stomach, thinking, "How the hell is that kid so strong? He punched me once and I feel like I've been hit by a train." He would look up at Naruto, feeling as though he could vomit at any moment, as he would say, "What are you waiting for? Go get him!" 2 of the boys would rush at Naruto with kunais in hand, as one of the brothers would throw shuriken at Naruto's direction, and Naruto, seeing this happen, would tense up for a moment before his hand would go loose on the blade, and he would proceed to use the katana to dodge each and every single one of the shuriken being thrown at him. One of the brother who was about to create contact with Naruto would stop, going, "There's no way, But before he could even finish his sentence, Naruto would rush in towards the boy, hitting him with the hilt of the blade on the side of the head. The boy would fall down onto the ground unconscious, as he would say 2 more to go, and one of the boys would say, "How the heck can you move like that without any prior training? You really must be a demon," as he would stand up weakly and then say, "Fire style! Fireball jutsu!" But as that would happen, the young Naruto, holding this blade as though he had been partners with this thing his entire life and knew the ins and outs and working of this blade, would begin spinning it in his fingers and his hand, creating a cyclone effect with the sword that would block the entirety of the fire style jutsu. And the boy would smirk, saying, "See, that's what it takes to..." But as the fire would clear and the smoke would be taken by the wind, Naruto would be standing there without a single scratch on him. The boys, seeing this, being too scared and stunned to even do anything, would grab their other brother and run away, saying, "He's a freak." As Naruto, taking the blade, would look at it and smirk, thinking to himself that maybe he was a fool for trying to get in with these people and try to form friendships. Looking at his blade, he would think to himself that this thing is my only friend, as he would see his reflection on the blade, seeing himself, and he would slick his hair back. Naruto in this moment would look at his own blue eyes, as he would have a memory flash back to when he was a small child and had gazed on his father's eyes before. Naruto, seeing that, would proceed to make his way back towards his home, deciding that today wasn't exactly his best day. And making his way there, he would simply just decide to eat one of his cupped ramens, thinking to himself that it's pitiful. These damn villagers don't even realize that they're trying to attack the son of the 4th Hokage, as he would sip on his food and simply just throw it away in the trash. After this would happen, Naruto's goals would entirely change, as he would decide to himself that now, all he really wants is strength, because in this life, the only person that Naruto could count on was himself. Nobody else was on his side. So he was just gonna have to make sure that his side was the only side. And the only way to do that was to have inconceivable power. So from that day, Naruto would begin training with his Kenjutsu abilities every single day, leading to his day of graduation, where Ruka would say, "Alright, now we have to announce the Rookie of the Year." He would smile at the classroom as he would then look towards Naruto and say that, but before he does that, he does have to give an honorable mention to the runner-up, Sasuke Uchiha. At hearing this, the class would go into a frenzy, or more specifically, the Sasuke fangirls, who, specifically speaking, Sakura would go crazier than all of them, saying, "What? You mean to tell me Naruto's the Rookie of the Year? It should have been given to Sasuke. He's the most handsome in the..." As she would be quiet, being like, "He's the most talented in the entire classroom." With Ino hearing that, going, "What? No way, it's clearly Naruto. I can't believe that with that big forehead of yours, your brain is only half the size of it." As Sakura, hearing this, turning to Ino, would say, "What did you say, Cha?" As she gets in fighting position, and Naruto, simply sitting in the back of the classroom, would hear the words, "The Rookie of the Year is Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto would simply smirk as he would see that Sasuke was glaring at him from the other side of the classroom, but Naruto would know that Sasuke can't do a thing about it, because every time that Sasuke's tried to fight him, he always, and I mean always, loses. Naruto truly is just on a different level. And things wouldn't have been helped once Naruto actually ended up finding the Yamato, which would have actually been about a month ago when Naruto was out in the training field doing his usual movements. All of a sudden, Naruto would feel an innate desire, a drive, almost as if something was calling to him. He would turn towards the direction of the forest and wonder what exactly was drawing him in. Naruto, feeling quite annoyed by this feeling that just hasn't gone away for years. It started when he was a boy and began his training to advance his Kenjutsu abilities. Obviously, he was already incredible at it, but even by the age of being a genin, Naruto was now truly a master with the blade. But the thing is, these blades were never able to keep up. But the older Naruto got, the stronger this feeling that something was calling to him in the forest would push him. As a kid, it would be a slight itch to just go over there and find out what's over there, what's in the forest. But as he got older, Naruto began to wonder if it was some sort of genjutsu or maybe an animal that was simply using a hunting tactic to draw him in and ambush him. So Naruto always would have annoyed it, but on this particular day, that itch just wasn't going away. And Naruto decided to grab his blade and walk into the forest, deciding that whatever it is, it's gonna die today. But as he would get closer and closer, he would realize that there was nothing there. Nothing but an old rusted blade that had been covered by dirt. Naruto, after digging for a couple of seconds, would pull it out, and the moment that Naruto's hand would make contact with it, the sword would begin to all of a sudden de-rust itself. I know it sounds weird and stupid, but just track with me here for a second. It's almost as though he was like SpongeBob in that one episode where he pulled the spatula out of Neptune's like thing, or like pulling the sword of what is it, the lost sword or whatever it is out of the stone. That's kind of a moment that we would get right now, kind of just for funny effect, just because I mean that's the only real way that I could see him getting the sword at an age where it's not too crazy as a little kid. And when Naruto would hold this blade in his hands, Naruto would feel such familiarity to this thing, like he has genuinely known it his whole life. Naruto in this moment takes the blade that he had in his sheath as he would throw it down to the ground and place the sword Yamato right where it had belonged all along. Naruto in this moment would smirk to himself, thinking he wonders what this thing can do. And so, without a second moment's notice, Naruto would quick draw his blade so fast that if you blinked you wouldn't have seen it, and 3 trees would have immediately fallen down. Naruto would have chopped them easily. As Naruto, seeing this, would have a huge smile, thinking to himself that he's finally found the blade that he's been looking for, a katana worthy of him wielding it. Naruto from this day forth would become so unbelievably cocky, knowing that he has a weapon like this at his disposal, that when Naruto now goes into fights, he doesn't even draw the blade from its sheath if he's fighting somebody who he doesn't believe is worthy of his time. And that would have been the case for the previous fight that he and Sasuke would have had after Naruto would have found the Yamato. That said, Naruto at this point would have definitely ended up learning of the fact that the Yamato can actually cut through anything, space itself. Because when Naruto was training with it one day, Naruto would have slashed at the air, and as he would have done that, he would have seen as though the air itself would have ripped apart, and he would see a portal leading him to a different dimension. Naruto seeing this would have looked inside to see what it was, but obviously not understanding how the Yamato works, Naruto definitely would not have gone inside. So to this point, Naruto only has knowledge of the fact that this blade is so incredibly sharp, it can cut space-time itself. And that being the case, Naruto would hold this in the back of his mind, but going back to the present, Naruto, after being told he was the Rookie of the Year, would wait a couple of minutes before every other team would finally be told about who their rookies are going to be and who their Jonin sensei is. Naruto staying behind would finally end up finding himself on a team with Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Eventually, after finding this out, Naruto would finally see the door open as Kakashi Hatake would finally arrive, and he would quickly tell the team to meet him upstairs for some friendly introductions. The team would do just that, and so we would get the team telling everybody their goals, Sasuke saying that he doesn't particularly like anything and that his goals are none of their concern. Sakura would be a trash bag as usual, and Naruto would say that his goal was to become powerful. Kakashi hearing this would say, "Is that it?" And Naruto would say, "What more is there to life?" As Kakashi would nod, seeing that this team was definitely going to be an interesting one. After this, Kakashi would sigh and tell them that tomorrow they're going to be seeing if they will truly become Genins, explaining to them that tomorrow they're going to be taking a test, and also telling them that it's going to be so difficult that they shouldn't even eat before arriving there, because if they do, they will puke it out. As he would then body flicker out of there, and Naruto would simply smile, thinking to himself that there's no way that this exam is going to be too difficult for him. But he'll wait and see. The next day would finally come around, and Naruto would be inside of his house simply making himself a breakfast. As Naruto would be doing this, he would have a cocky smile on his face, thinking to himself that there's no way Kakashi's training is going to be that hard for him. He would make himself a big breakfast to top it all off, simply challenging himself in the sense, and also as an act of defiance to show that he doesn't have to play by the rules. Naruto in this moment would think that he was so cool doing this, and as he finished his meal, he would get up out of his table and finally make his way towards the direction of the team. Arriving there, Naruto would feel so unbelievably full that he feels like a balloon that has been overfilled with air. But as he would wait for Kakashi to arrive, he wouldn't. And after an hour would pass, Naruto's stomach would start to feel a lot better. Then 2 hours would pass and Naruto would feel great. 30 minutes, Naruto would feel incredible, back to normal 100%. That said, Kakashi would end up arriving, giving them all a really lame excuse as to why he was this late, before then coughing and then explaining the rules of the test, saying that for this exam, they're going to be having 2 bells and that only 2 of them are going to be passing. Sakura hearing this would go, "Wait, Kakashi, what do you mean 2 of us are going to pass? Aren't 3 people required for a team?" Well, normally they are, but today we're doing something a bit different. This team is going to be consisting of 3 members, myself and the 2 of you that pass, if you can get the bells. Naruto and Sasuke would both look at each other in this moment, knowing that the both of them are going to be the ones to get the bells, as Sakura seeing this would feel so much sadness at the fact that she was no longer going to be on a team with Sasuke. Also, Naruto a bit, because she did have to admit that he was kind of cool. That said, the test would begin, and as Kakashi would count down the seconds saying 3, 2, 1, Sasuke would rush off into the forest to begin game planning for what his strategy is going to be to take the bells, all the while Naruto would simply stand there wondering if Kakashi was even worth using his blade. Naruto would have a slight smirk on his face as he would ask Kakashi if he can truly go all out. Kakashi, however, not even paying attention to Naruto, would be flipping through the pages of makeout tactics. As he would flip to the next page, Kakashi would feel a massive gust of wind as Naruto would have barely been inching closer, about to slash Kakashi in half for the disrespect. Straight up about to kill his sensei. And you know what's wild about that? Kakashi would have actually died had he not been ready to use the body flicker or the substitution jutsu at a moment's notice. That said, Naruto would actually end up cutting the makeout tactics book in half and actually nicking Kakashi. But what's interesting about that is Naruto never drew his blade. Kakashi dodging out of the way would leave Naruto to stand in the center of the area with grass and trees as he would look around, closing his eyes and think, "Where are you, Kakashi?" In this moment, he would begin using his sensory abilities as he would use his sight, or well, technically not sight, but smell, hearing, touch, taste, whatever, all that stuff, to essentially locate Kakashi and rush towards the location that he believes that Kakashi was at. In this moment that Naruto would be getting closer and closer to Kakashi, Kakashi definitely would have laid out a trap, using tripwire, which Naruto easily would have been able to see, and drawing his blade would cut it, using the Yamato, as he would send a slash towards the direction of Kakashi so powerful that it would not only cut the thread, but it would also cut 3 trees, which one of them Kakashi was hiding behind. Kakashi would have actually had a bit of his hair cut off in that moment, with Kakashi realizing that that boy is dangerous. And so realizing that Naruto's not the shinobi that he can take as a joke, would immediately use his Sharingan. As stepping out of the forest, he would look towards Naruto, asking him where exactly he learned how to become that powerful with the blade. Asking if Naruto even imbued wind style into that slash, as Naruto turning towards Kakashi would explain that he didn't need to, that the slash that he saw was his raw cutting ability. Kakashi, realizing that Naruto truly is extremely powerful, would rush in with the kunai in hand as he would clash with Naruto, but the moment that the kunai and katana would make contact with each other, Kakashi's kunai would be split in two as Naruto would gash Kakashi in the face with his blade, and he would proceed to explode, turning into a water clone. However, underneath Naruto, Kakashi would attempt to use the headhunter jutsu to grab his legs, dragging him underneath the earth, similarly to what he would have done to Sasuke. However, unlike Sasuke, Naruto would leap up into the air, avoiding that attack, turning to Kakashi before telling him that elementary jutsus like that are not going to be working on him, saying that unless he makes this fight worthy of his time, that he doesn't deserve to even call himself his Jonin sensei. Kakashi, hearing this, looking at Naruto, would think to himself that he's a cocky brat, before weaving hand signs for a fire style twin dragon jutsu. 2 gigantic flame dragons would shoot out of Kakashi's mouth, rushing to the direction of Naruto, as Naruto would simply smirk, thinking to himself that finally he can draw his blade. He would do so and begin spinning it, dodging the attack much similar to what he would have done to the boy in the alleyway. Having perfected this attack, Naruto can essentially use his sword to block practically any projectile attack, and Kakashi's twin dragons would be completely decimated by Naruto. Kakashi would think to himself that maybe he took things a bit too far. However, when the smoke would clear, Naruto would be standing still. In this moment of shock from Kakashi, Sasuke would take this opportunity to lunge downwards and rush Kakashi with the taijutsu onslaught, as Kakashi, seeing Sasuke come towards him, would actually, using his kunai as well as Sharingan, read Sasuke like a book. In the original, he didn't use his Sharingan until the Land of the Waves arc, so with Kakashi having the Sharingan active in this moment, there's just nothing that Sasuke was able to do against Kakashi, because every single movement was being predicted by him, and Sasuke would only be getting angered by the fact that Kakashi even possessed a Sharingan. This would lead to an interesting battle between the two, as Sasuke would eventually kick off of Kakashi, telling him that here's another fire style jutsu, shooting a gigantic ball of fire at Kakashi, to which Kakashi would easily dodge out of the way by simply using the body flicker, appearing next to Sasuke and chopping him in the neck, telling him that though his moves are impressive, his strategy was way too predictable. So Sasuke would be rendered unconscious, all the while Naruto would say, "Don't forget about me." Naruto would pull his hair back with his hand as he would run his fingers through it, and with the other hand, he would form an X-type slash that would fly to the direction of Kakashi as a projectile, and Kakashi using his Sharingan could actually see almost as though a katana itself was actually flying towards him in order to cut him. Kakashi quickly dodging out of the way would then be greeted to countless more slashes by Naruto. Naruto would continue cutting the air as the slashes would travel through the air, making their way towards Kakashi, with Kakashi doing his best to dodge out of the way of all of them, but he wouldn't be able to do them all. In this moment, Naruto would smirk as he would blitz in towards the direction of Kakashi, who seeing him move would be impressed at his speed, before Naruto would try to actually hit Kakashi in the head with the blunt side of his blade. It'd be at this point that Kakashi, seeing this sword strike come at him, would hold his arm in front of him, as his arm would proceed to be gashed and an open wound would appear on it. Kakashi would think to himself, but it's the blunt side. But as Naruto would draw his sword back in, Naruto all in an instant would have actually done that as well as cut the bells off of Kakashi's waist. Kakashi seeing this happen would create some distance between Naruto, looking down at his bells, noticing that he doesn't hear the jingle of them, and Naruto would be holding both bells in his hand, as he would proudly exclaim that he passed. Kakashi seeing that Naruto was talented and skilled enough to do that all in one moment, that even with the Sharingan active he wasn't able to track Naruto cutting the bells off of his waist, would be extremely impressed. However, the goal of the test wasn't completed. Yes, he took the bells, but now the real test begins. Kakashi turning to Naruto would say, "You have 2 bells and you have 2 teammates. Which one of them is going to be getting the bell?" Naruto hearing this, however, wouldn't panic or anything. He would simply smirk, saying that he's no fool. He's well aware of the fact that a 3-man team is the normal for a shinobi squad, and that there's no way that last second Konoha was going to be changing things for them. Both of his teammates are going to be passing, as he would turn to Kakashi, saying that it was kind of a dumb idea to try to get them all to work together when you were trying to pit them up against each other. Naruto turns to Kakashi, saying that he had an easier time simply taking the bells from him rather than trying to tell that to his teammates, but he would look at Kakashi before saying that he could work as a team, theoretically, with Sasuke maybe. Sakura, she has a ways to go, as he would turn to Sakura, looking at her hiding behind the bushes, with her thinking, how did he know I was there? But Naruto would simply look at her, smile, and turn to Kakashi, saying that if he wants him to show a display of teamwork, he guesses he could give them both the bells and return to the academy, but he knows that's not going to be happening, especially not since Naruto clearly has the power of a Jonin at least. Kakashi hearing that, and after seeing Naruto's skills and assessing him himself, would actually agree to the fact that Naruto is at bare minimum a Jonin level shinobi. He would wonder just how strong Naruto could potentially get if he was going all out, considering the fact that Kakashi's no fool. He knows that Naruto was actually holding back against him, and that if he truly wanted to, with a quick draw as fast as he has, the second he came into range of Naruto's blade and he took those bells, he truly could have just cut him in half, and Kakashi would have been dead by the time that he realized what had happened. Kakashi turning to Naruto would tell him that he did a great job, as he would then smile underneath his mask, as a sweat drop would go down his face and say that Team 7 passes. Naruto would also look at Kakashi before then saying the dumbest thing ever, being like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I had breakfast today. Wasn't much of a challenge if I do say so myself." Kakashi hearing that would look at Naruto, thinking to himself that this kid is powerful, but that confidence of his, it might get him killed one day. But as he thinks of that, he would remember what he was like as a kid. As looking to Naruto, he would kind of see himself in him. And the fact that Naruto has white hair, which is very similar to Kakashi's silver hair, would not be helping at all. That said, however, after this would take place, the team would continue going on countless missions. They would be E rank and D rank missions, which Naruto wasn't exactly happy about, considering the fact that he believes that his talents are being wasted. With us getting a couple funny scenes of Naruto simply looking at cats and giving them death glares, which essentially leads the cats to just staying still and letting Naruto capture them, taking them back to their grandmas. Eventually, this would all boil over after their 4th D-rank mission, with Naruto being pissed at this. He would go to Hiruzen himself without the team and request a higher ranked mission, one worthy of his capabilities, or he was going to be going to another village that could actually use his services. Hiruzen, hearing this, would not think of what Naruto was saying. However, the Anbu members that are always there with Hiruzen's office, there to protect him, would both in an instant be by Naruto's sides, as they would draw their blades to Naruto and hold them close to his body. However, Naruto, seeing this, would smirk, as basically doing that classic anime quick draw where he unsheaths his blade for a split second, would essentially do that, with both of the characters' swords and kunais dropping to the ground, having been cut in half. Naruto, after doing that, would glare at both of the Anbu members, who would both take a step back, feeling fear at the mere presence of Naruto, with Naruto turning towards Hiruzen, saying that he thinks he made his point very clear. Hiruzen, seeing this, would tell Naruto that he's incredibly impressed with his skills, then would also explain that he didn't exactly need to do all that, and especially didn't have to say all those things, but he did have a mission for Team 7 in the books, and the mission was taking a bridge builder back to the land of the waves. Naruto, hearing that, would say, "That's it? Are you serious?" As Hiruzen would say that they need to start small. Powerful or not, all of them have to do their due diligence and take on smaller sized missions whenever they present themselves. That's a village, and that's how it runs, and that's how it will always run. Naruto in this moment would look at Hiruzen before simply being like, "Thanks, old man," and walking out of the office. As Naruto would be walking off, Hiruzen would think to himself, "Minato, you would be so proud of the man that your boy has become. He's become a powerful shinobi. Maybe not inheriting the personality that you once had, however, he can hold his own, and he's made it very clear that he wants to advance as a shinobi in the village. I can only shudder to think about how much more powerful your son will be getting. I know you and Kushina would have loved to see him grow up as a man." As he would watch Naruto step out of the room, and Hiruzen would take a hit of his pipe. The very next day, the team would all be told about the fact that they're going to be going on the Land of the Waves mission. Oh, and by the way, for the next section of this video, I'm going to lock in. Or at least I'm going to try to. I'm about to close my eyes and just picture the story as I tell it. So hopefully I'm not getting away from my microphone or speaking too low. That way my microphone doesn't pick up the sound as good. But yeah, that being the case, Naruto and the team would all enter Hiruzen's office as a drunken man would walk inside, slurring his words, saying, "So Hiruzen, this is the team that you're going to be giving me for my money?" Turning to see the grown-up 16-year-old Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto, he would actually have a smile on his face, thinking that this group seems to be powerful. However, only time would tell, and time would indeed tell. The very next day, as the team would be making their way towards the Land of the Waves, 2 Chunin level ninjas would attempt to ambush the squad, but as they would be rushing towards their direction, bloodlust in their eyes, Naruto would quick draw his blade as both of their heads would fall down to the ground in an instant. Sakura, Kakashi, and Sasuke would all be stunned, as the bridge builder would say, What happened? They just died." Kakashi would turn towards the direction of Naruto, not even having seen him quick draw his blade, as he would turn to Tazuna, and go on to explain that they died. They would continue forth with the mission, with Kakashi having slight suspicions of Tazuna, as well as the rank that the mission should truly have. As time would pass, eventually they would bump into a white rabbit, which in this timeline, when Naruto sees this, he would immediately realize that someone's there. Someone is getting closer, knowing that those particular type of bunnies aren't actually around in this time of year. So Naruto's guard would be on high alert as they would get closer and closer to the Land of the Waves, but the fog would just get thicker and thicker. All of a sudden, Naruto could hear the whoosh of a blade flying through the air coming towards them, and Naruto, hearing this, would duck, as Kakashi would inform the rest of the team to do so, as they would all do the same thing and look up to see Zabuza Momochi standing there threatening as ever, pretty much telling Kakashi that he needs to hand over the bridge builder or die. Naruto, looking up towards the direction of Zabuza, would say, "You're one of the legendary swordsmen of the mist." He would grip the hilt of his blade, asking if that title truly means something. As Zabuza, realizing that Naruto was questioning his abilities, would turn to Kakashi, saying that one of his subordinates has quite the mouth on him, telling Kakashi to shut him up before he mutilates the brat with his blade. Kakashi, however, would not look worried in the slightest, turning to Naruto as he would see Naruto whip his blade out and slash at the air. In that moment, a cut would appear on Zabuza's cheek and Zabuza's eyes would go completely widened. At this point, Zabuza would take his blade as the mist would get thicker and thicker to the point where you couldn't even see anything, and Zabuza rushing towards the direction of the boy who he knows to be dangerous just from that moment of showing a power Naruto did, as he would go to slash at Naruto, cutting him in his back, but Naruto, drawing his blade, would clash with Zabuza with one arm. And just to put into perspective how incredibly cool that is, think about how massive Zabuza's blade is. The fact that he's using two arms to go and slash in at Naruto, and Naruto with a katana, with one arm, barely putting in any effort, would have completely stopped that blow from coming at his direction. A force of wind would expel out as some of the mist would begin to get thinner. In this moment, Zabuza would think, "What? Impossible," as Naruto would begin to block Zabuza's every attack, coming in from the left, from the right, top, bottom. It didn't matter where Zabuza was attacking from, because Naruto was blocking everything. Zabuza, seeing this, would be getting enraged as Naruto would tell him that his swordsmanship skills need some polishing, and that he would have expected more from an ex-member of the 7 Ninja of the Swordsman, saying that he guesses that that rank is just a bag of puffed up air, saying that it really means nothing. Zabuza, hearing this, would get extremely pissed off at Naruto, as he would think, "Damn you brat," weaving hand signs for Twin Dragon Jutsu, which would rush towards the direction of Naruto, which, remember, in canon was literally his strongest attack that he used against Kakashi, but Kakashi would have mirrored it and completely decimated him with his own attack. Naruto, seeing both of the Twin Dragons coming towards their direction, would think, "They never learn," as Naruto would slash the dragons in half, water shooting past him as it would almost look as though like the sea itself was parting. And in this moment, Naruto would speed blitz towards the direction of Zabuza, as out of nowhere, 2 Senbon would pierce into Zabuza's neck. Naruto, seeing this happen, would turn to the forest as he would see a man in an Anbu mask stepping forward with a blue outfit. Naruto, seeing this, seeing Haku for the first time, would watch as Haku would take the body of Zabuza, claiming himself to be a hunter nin. Naruto, knowing that this was a complete lie, would just let him get away, saying that it's not even worth his time. It'd be at this point that Haku, taking the body of Zabuza, would disappear, and Kakashi, turning towards Naruto, would ask him why he let him get away. Naruto would say that he's not a threat, as Kakashi would sigh, thinking he is the son of the Yellow Flash. In this point, we would then get the team making their way towards Tazuna's house, as unlike in the original, Kakashi would actually have the stamina and energy to train the group. So the first thing that he would begin to show them would be tree walking. And funny enough, kind of just as a gag, we're going to be saying that Naruto still hadn't learned that ability. So Naruto at this point would begin learning tree walking alongside Sakura and Sasuke, which, funny enough, Sakura actually would end up beating Naruto and Sasuke in this timeline still. Now, obviously in this timeline, Naruto's not having the problems with his chakra control that he would have in the original, because keep in mind, Kurama is not a chakra beast, it's literally a demon, which chakra comes from his realm. So Kurama's ability to mess with his chakra flow is not an ability that I'm going to be granting Kurama in this timeline, which makes things a little bit funnier because it means that Naruto genuinely just struggles to learn how to, channel his chakra to a perfect point in this timeline. And so hours would pass and Naruto and Sasuke would run up the tree, marking lines with kunais as the both of them would get higher and higher. Eventually, Naruto would make it to the top of the tree, having mastered tree walking, with Sasuke continuing to train, angered at the fact that Naruto was just so much better than him. After this would be over, Kakashi would teach the group a couple of more things, but Naruto at the end of the day would always end up going off to do his own training. Sasuke would wonder what exactly Naruto was doing, but every time that he seemed to look at Naruto and try to spy on him, he was just doing basic sword movements. And he was always performing them slowly, as though he was doing some sort of what's that thing that old people do? Tai Chi, where they move and they'll make a circle with their hand and another circle, Naruto is actually doing mental training, funny enough, because while he's out there and he's moving his blade slowly, Naruto would actually be imagining a battle playing out with thousands of enemies rushing at him, and every single sword strike would be calculated and precise, targeted to dismember them, kill them, or mutilate them. But to the outside person, it seems like Naruto's practically moving slower than an actual battle would take place. It just looks boring. After Naruto would finally be done with this and he would kill thousands of opponents in his mind, Naruto would lay down at his tree with Yamato at his side as Naruto would take a nap, waking up to the sound of grass being crushed underneath someone's foot as Naruto would feel that someone was there. Naruto would slightly open his eyes as he could see Haku getting closer and closer, about to place his hand on his throat. Naruto, seeing this, would be ready to draw his blade and kill him in an instant, as all too suddenly, Haku would wake him up saying, "Hey, you might get a cold, wake up." Naruto, seeing this, would wake up, pretending to do so at least, turning to Haku and asking what she's doing there, as Haku would say that she's collecting herbs to heal somebody, nurse somebody back to health. Naruto, hearing this, would smile, thinking to himself that that's good, wondering why she's here so bright and early, and Haku would go on to say that he likes waking up early. Naruto in this moment would say one more question: "Why are you pretending to be a girl?" As Haku, hearing this, would be stunned that Naruto recognized him as a boy. Naruto, turning towards him, would say, "You're the boy that ended up saving Zabuza back there, weren't you?" Haku, hearing that, would tense up as, taking hold of a kunai nearby, he would aim it towards Naruto, who would simply stare at him, eyes cold, looking at him and saying, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna fight you or kill you, but I am gonna warn you, because I can tell you're not evil. You had a moment to try to kill me and you hesitated. Why is that? Are you not a shinobi? Are you not willing to take someone's life if necessary? Why would you spare your enemy?" Haku, turning to Naruto, would tell him that that's none of his business, as Naruto would say that he decided to make it his business. Haku, turning to Naruto, would go on to explain that he'll do what he must for his master Zabuza, as Naruto would say that clearly that's not the case, turning to Haku and giving him a piece of advice, saying not to get involved in this fight, explaining that he or his master could both try to take him on all at once, but the same fate will befall them both: death. He would go on to explain that he doesn't want to fall to his blade, and say that he'd be more useful serving his master, doesn't he think? Naruto, turning to Haku, would go on to explain that if he truly wants to be a weapon for his master, or help him, then he'll help him stay alive. As Naruto would stand up, grabbing his blade, making it seem as though that was the first time he had picked it up, but Haku could feel all too quickly that his hair had gone a total of 1 or 2 inches shorter. Did he do that? He would stare at Naruto as he would ask him if that was his doing, to which Naruto would say, "If you can't even figure that out, then there's no way that you'd be a worthy opponent for me. You and your master should retreat. I'm offering you this opportunity now and only now, so take it while you have the chance." Haku, hearing that, would look at the direction of Naruto as Naruto would walk off, and Haku would be sitting there, sweat dripping from his face, as he would be gripping the kunai so tight, wondering to himself what he should do. Should he really just run away? I mean, why wouldn't he? That shinobi, whoever that was, he had a chilling aura to him. He felt even colder than he was, and he has an ice Kiki Genkai, for crying out loud. But in this moment, Haku would simply think about what to do. Does he tell his master Zabuza to quit the mission, abandon his pride as a ninja swordsman? He knew he couldn't bring himself to do that. So the very next day, as the team was building the bridge, helping Zabuza with the construction of it, Zabuza and Haku would arrive on the bridge. Naruto in this moment would have a sad expression on his face, thinking to himself that Haku didn't take his advice. He would turn to Zabuza, asking if he's here for part 2, and Zabuza, turning to Naruto, would tell him that he is, as a gust of wind would end up covering the entire area, and Naruto would say that he's ready. It'd be at this moment that Haku, using the demonic ice crystal mirror jutsu, would trap Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura all inside of it, all the while Naruto would face off against Zabuza, who would try to get his get back on Naruto, but ultimately, it was a foolish decision to challenge him once again. Naruto would toy with Zabuza's sword skills, dodging, weaving, landing kicks, landing punches, attacking him with the blunt side of his blade, creating gashes on Zabuza's body. And all the while Haku was facing off against Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke, Senbon would be thrown at their directions as all of them would begin getting weaker and weaker, being impaled by more and more of them. Haku taking this seriously, however, with Sasuke and Kakashi there, the both of them would be able to keep up a lot better than you would expect. And once Sasuke awakens his Sharingan, which would still happen, he would keep up with the Senbon much faster. Naruto, realizing that if he doesn't hurry up, there's a chance that they could actually die, would ultimately decide that playtime's over, as he would rush towards the direction of Zabuza and have a sword clash moment with him. However, the moment that both blades would connect, Naruto's would be that much sharper and stronger, cutting the executioner's blade in half, as Naruto's blade would drive into Zabuza's body, with Zabuza falling onto the ground, hitting his knees, and his blood would begin to fill the area. Naruto at this point would then turn to see Haku, who wasn't able to sit there and just watch what had happened to Zabuza, would rush towards Naruto's direction, trying to aid Zabuza in any way, shape, or form. But as he would inch closer and closer, Naruto would draw his blade once more, leaving an X-shaped slash on Haku's back, with Haku's eyes going white and him falling down to the ground. Naruto would see rain begin to fall down on him as Naruto's hair would begin falling down, and instead of having that slick back pose that it always does, it looks exactly like Dante's does in this moment. His blue outfit, his black undershirt, his blue eyes glistening with the rain, as Naruto would stare at both of the bodies of Haku and Zabuza, and Kakashi would get closer, asking him if they're dead. Naruto in this moment would stare at Kakashi as he would shake his head no, saying that he's simply returning the mercy that Haku had shown him when they first met. Kakashi would say that this is their first time meeting, and Naruto would nod that that's not true, as he would go on to explain his first time meeting Haku, explaining that Haku to him rubs off as an incredible shinobi, a talented one, but he's not a killer. He's not like Zabuza. He would say that he has a gentle heart and a kind soul, going on to explain that that's the kind of person who deserves a second chance at life. As Zabuza, hearing this, would weakly stand up saying, "Is that true, boy?" Turning to Naruto, as Naruto staring back at Zabuza would tell him that he spared him and not to be a fool. Zabuza, however, in this moment would say that this is the first time in his life that he won't be. As Gato and his men would arrive at the bridge, Zabuza would turn to Naruto saying, "Take care of him," as Zabuza would maul through every single one of Gato's men, ultimately arriving to him before using the kunai in his mouth to kill Gato. In this timeline, Zabuza would still unfortunately die because the injury that he would have received by Naruto would have been deadly on his own, but adding on top of that all of the nicks and slashes that Gato's men would have been able to land on him, it would be too much for him, and Zabuza would fall down on the bridge as Haku would wake up hours later, with Naruto explaining to him what his master had done for him in his final moments. Haku, going to check on Zabuza's body, would see the markings of different wounds that he knows that Naruto didn't inflict on him. As he would cry, and creating an icicle in his hand, he would try to commit seppuku, but Naruto's hand would stop him, telling him to not be a fool and to live out the life that Zabuza sacrificed himself to live out. Haku in this moment would have tears going down his face as Naruto would tell him that he spared his life, so at the bare minimum he owes him that much. And so Haku, weakly standing up looking at the body of Zabuza, would say that he'll join them only because of Naruto. But before that, he would go on to explain that he would love it if he could bury Zabuza in a flower patch, a beautiful place. And so, finding a nearby really pretty flower patch, he would dig a hole and put the body of Zabuza inside of it. As a couple of teardrops would hit the ground, Haku would look down at the dead body of Zabuza with a smile, thinking back to all the memories that he had with Zabuza, not all of them being positive, but Zabuza was there for him, and that's more than he could say for most people in his life. That said, Naruto would turn to Haku saying if he's ready, and Haku would nod saying he is. At this point, the team would say their goodbyes to the villagers and Tazuna as well as Inari and Tsunami, making their way towards the Hidden Leaf village, where once they would end up arriving, they would debrief Hiruzen on everything that took place over the mission, with Kakashi explaining that they are going to be adding a new shinobi to their ranks, Haku. Hiruzen, turning to Haku, would simply stare at him as he would begin to judge what his character is simply by looking at him, as he would nod, taking a hit of his pipe and saying that Haku can join the village, but he's gonna have to prove himself loyal to it first, and to do that, he's going to be needing to partake in a couple of missions. He would turn to Naruto saying that it was his decision to bring him to the Leaf, and he would ask Kakashi if he agrees with that. Kakashi would nod, saying that he's an exceptional shinobi, one capable of even pushing him to his limits and awakening Sasuke's Sharingan. He would explain that Haku comes from the Ice Clan, which pretty much leads Hiruzen to instantly nodding and pretty much having Haku join Team 7. After this happens, Team 7 would officially become a 5-member team, and with the Chunin Exams right around the corner, one of them would actually have to be stepping out of that event. That said, I can see Sakura taking one for the team, as she would look down and ultimately say that while she would love to take part of the Chunin Exams, she feels like she's not ready. After all, it's not like she did anything in the Land of the Waves, and she would look down before looking at Sasuke, saying that she'd only hold the team back. She would say that for now, they could go out there and become Chunin, and she'll do it later on. Haku, looking at Sakura, would be stunned that she would be willing to make a sacrifice like that, especially since he's a new member of the team and they don't even know if they can trust him. Naruto, looking at Sakura, would nod, saying that that's the best decision she could have made, thanking her for taking one for the team, as Sasuke, turning to Haku, would glare at him, not sure whether he can trust him yet, but knowing that they have Haku on their team will definitely help their odds. Sasuke would swallow his pride, accepting this change, as the team would make their way into the Chunin Exams tower, and once there, Naruto would be challenged by Rock Lee, who would attempt to face off against the Rookie of the Year. But in this timeline, Naruto, not thinking of most people as worthy of a fight, would simply decline Lee's offer, with Lee trying to make a statement, throwing a Leaf Hurricane kick at Naruto to show off that he was not a weakling, would actually show the opposite. Naruto, in this moment, using his arm, would catch Rock Lee's kick in one hand, as he would glare at him, saying, "I think I've made myself clear," squeezing Lee's leg as Lee would grit in pain, going, "Ah!" and he would let him go. Naruto, Haku, and Sasuke would make their way towards the Chunin Exams area, as they would all be glared at by multiple members that are there ready to take the exam. A couple of minutes would pass and they would find themselves in the examination room, where, much like in the original, they pass due to answering the final question, and they would find themselves in the Forest of Death, where Naruto, in this timeline, would lead the team through the forest, telling Sasuke to use his Sharingan to see if he can sense any faint chakra signatures nearby, and once they do, they're going to be using Haku's capabilities to freeze the team solid and take their scroll. This plan would ultimately work, as Team 7 would end up taking a scroll incredibly fast. About 13 minutes into the exam, they would have done that, and right after that, the team would make their way towards the Chunin Tower, where they would get closer and closer, but all too suddenly, a massive chakra signature would begin getting closer and closer. Orochimaru would arrive face to face with Naruto, Haku, and Sasuke, as a massive amount of bloodlust wave would hit all of them at the same time, to which Naruto, feeling all of this pressure, would recognize Orochimaru as a worthy opponent, as he would unsheath his blade and blitz off towards the direction of Orochimaru, saying, "Both of you, stay out of my way." He would slash Orochimaru in half, as Orochimaru's body would go flying off in the distance, but suddenly, snakes would proceed to come out of Orochimaru's body, as they would connect him once again, and Orochimaru in this moment would smile, thinking, "Interesting." He would then create a bunch of hand signs for a jutsu, as a massive block of iron would fall in front of Orochimaru, and Naruto would slash towards his direction once more. Naruto's slash would penetrate the entire thing, but Orochimaru would have been able to use his speed to circle around towards Naruto's direction, transforming his arm into a snake, as a gigantic snake would go rushing towards Naruto's direction, trying to bite him. But Naruto would cut his arm in half, with Orochimaru's arm turning back to normal and him getting close to Naruto's direction, throwing a punch. As this would happen, Naruto would block the blow by using his blade and then turning, spinning, and then slashing towards the direction of Orochimaru, leaving a gash on his chest. Orochimaru, seeing this, would smile, licking his lips, creating some distance between the two of them before then placing his hands on the ground and using a mud style jutsu, which would create a massive hill for him to have the high ground on, with Orochimaru weaving countless hand signs, and a massive floodgate of water would rush towards the direction of Naruto, which Naruto, seeing this, would simply stand still, using his blade to cut the water and causing the water to divide itself, all the while Haku, having water flying towards them, using his ice kick Genkai, would freeze it in place, as Sasuke and Haku would watch Naruto's impressive display of power. Orochimaru in this moment, opening his mouth, would draw the blade of Kusanagi out, as Orochimaru, smirking, knowing that the jutsu he had just used was simply to buy him time, would rush back in as Naruto, as they would begin clashing with their blades. They would begin going back and forth, with Orochimaru thinking, "Impressive, this boy is so talented." Licking his lips, they would continue clashing as Orochimaru would throw shuriken at Naruto's direction, to which Naruto would simply spin his blade, blocking each and every single one of Orochimaru's attacks. As Orochimaru in this moment would rush back in towards Naruto's direction, slashing at him, which Naruto would dodge with his blade, and Orochimaru's arm would turn to a snake which would coil around him and bite down on his neck, ripping out a piece of his skin, which Naruto would actually slightly feel pain at. He would then create some distance between himself and Orochimaru, as we would see Naruto's wound completely heal as though nothing had happened. Naruto would smile, thinking to himself that finally he found a worthy opponent. He would rush in, moving at top speeds, with Orochimaru doing the same. Both of them would clash at incredible speeds, and Orochimaru would smile, thinking to himself that this boy might make for a better vessel than Sasuke ever would. Naruto in this moment would begin moving faster and faster, as it would look as though he has a blue aura coming around him, and a spiritual-like avatar would rush towards the direction of Orochimaru. Naruto would now be using what seemingly looks like astral projection, as his speed would increase so incredibly much that Orochimaru would be put completely on the back foot, and he would only be able to dodge some strikes from Naruto. This would lead Orochimaru to being pushed back so incredibly far that his arms and legs would be cut off of his body, with his torso remaining on the ground, as Orochimaru's last sight would be a blue energy that would come towards him. Not a sword, but a blue astral sword which would slice him in half, as Orochimaru's eyes would see Naruto's hand look different. It would look as though it had armor on it. Naruto had slightly tapped into his devil trigger form, as his hand would have been covered with it, and he would have used that ability in tandem with his seeming to be astral projection ability, where he can create a spirit-like thing that is able to fight alongside him. He would have ended up decimating Orochimaru in this battle, and trees would be cut into little pieces all over the area, as Naruto, seeing Orochimaru's corpse, would walk toward it, as kicking the head, would realize that there was nothing but snakes there. Naruto would think, "You slimy," as he realizes that Orochimaru would have narrowly escaped his final attack. And with that being the case, Naruto would sheath his blade back once more, as turning towards the direction of the team, he would say that they need to get going, that they've wasted far too much time here with the likes of him. Sasuke, seeing that performance from Naruto, would grit his teeth, thinking, how is he so strong? As Haku would be stunned, realizing that he had no idea that Naruto possessed the strength to rival a Sannin, somebody so incredibly powerful in their world, and also best him, force him to retreat in the battle. That was incredibly impressive in his opinion, and because that would have been the case, Sasuke never would end up getting the power of the curse mark in this timeline. So Sasuke in this time wouldn't begin to start feeling drunk with power, and once the team would make their way towards the Chunin Tower after soundly defeating the Sound Genin, they would find themselves in their 1v1 battles, which would all go extremely smooth. But the one that I mainly want to focus on is Haku versus Ino. This would just be a tragic battle, because Ino would try to use her mind takeover jutsu, but it just wouldn't work on Haku, who instantly would speed blitz her and begin to absolutely destroy her with a taijutsu onslaught, forcing Ino to give up, as he would hold an ice senbon to her neck, and she would throw the towel immediately. That said, Naruto, like in the original, would face off against Kiba, but I don't exactly feel like doing Kiba and Akamaru dirty for another video, so I'm just going to be saying that Naruto defeats Kiba with negative difficulty. So with that being the case, Naruto would move on to the next section of the Chunin exams, and he would be facing off against Neji Hyuga, which is amazing news for Naruto and terrible news for Neji, because they're both close range fighters, and that's going to be working perfectly in Naruto's favor. That said, we begin the 1 month of training, and during this time, just like in the original, Sasuke would go off to train with Kakashi, who would teach him how to master his Sharingan, quote unquote master, and also teach him the Chidori technique, as well as improve his taijutsu. After having witnessed Rock Lee and Gaara's fight, he would think it was incredible, and by the end of it, he would become a totally different fighter. Much more powerful than the Sasuke that we would get in the original due to his age and his ease of using the Chidori in this timeline, and just the fact that this is going to be making him a whole lot stronger. Also, for those of you wondering of what about Itachi, is he dead already, since technically he's literally 4 years older than he would be in the original story? No, we're going to be saying that the sickness started 4 years later, so everything gets scaled upwards. In the original, Sasuke lost his entire clan when he was 7 years old. This timeline, he loses it all when he's 11 years old. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But regardless of that, we need to focus on the main character of the story, Naruto and his sidekick, Haku. Over the course of the 1 month of training, I can see Naruto and Haku training together, with Naruto using Haku's ice to essentially create ice constructs for Naruto to shatter using his blade, Haku creating more and more, with Naruto cutting them down every single time, more precise than the last. Over the course of this 1 month of training, Naruto would also have used some time to actually teach Haku how to wield a sword. So Haku would start creating an ice blade, which would look incredibly awesome. It's a massive one that looks similar to what Zabuza's sword does, but also looks a little similar to the one that Dante actually uses, just to pay a little bit of homage to the character. That said, Haku would end up learning incredible Kenjutsu abilities, and after about a week and a half of time would pass while Naruto would be training with Haku, growing stronger in power, and also learning of the fact that Naruto has new heights to reach that he had never even known about. Naruto was already an incredible fighter, and without that small little bit of devil trigger activating when he was facing off against Orochimaru, he still would have defeated him in battle regardless of that. Just the astral projection like ability that he has would have been more than enough to overwhelm him. But Naruto and the Devil Trigger ability would be something that he had still not activated up to this point. And it would be at this point in the story where Naruto, after knowing that he has the capability to open portals to other dimensions, would finally do so, as Naruto, using his blade Yamato, would cut a hole in space-time, as he and Haku, taking a bag with things that they need in case they have a difficult time returning to the real world, they would take that with them. And so, stepping forth, they would end up arriving in a wasteland full of ice, a world in complete ruin where the oxygen itself was difficult to breathe. In this moment, Naruto would look around, looking at everything in the devastation that he could see from this planet or void or place, but interestingly enough, this would actually be a planet that the Otsutsuki would have rampaged, absolutely destroying, and the planet would have essentially frozen over, as it would have flown eons and eons farther from its star. The temperature would be insanely horrible, and buildings would be covered over in ice, making them have this incredibly cool appearance. But after Naruto would do a bit of looking around and searching on this area, Naruto, using his blade once more, would open another portal, and Naruto in this moment would come face to face with hell itself. Naruto, seeing this place, this view, this horrific scene, would see monsters, demons. He would even see a gigantic castle, a massive building, the likes that Naruto's never seen before. Naruto, stepping forth, would tell Haku to come on, as he would do so, and the both of them would step forth. Naruto in this moment would turn to see countless demons having noticed him. It'd be in this moment that Naruto would take a hold of his blade Yamato and rush towards them, slaughtering the demons with his Yamato blade, with Haku providing him backup and covering Naruto's blind spots, if he even hadn't. Naruto, for some reason, would just feel like he knows this place, like he's connected to this place. And unfortunately for Naruto, every single one of these demons would act as an obstacle that he had to get past in order to make his way inside of the castle, and ultimately make it to where Naruto's goal is, the throne room. Naruto would decimate demon after demon after demon, with them only getting stronger and stronger. The passage of time in this dimension would have been so different, considering the fact that the passage of time in this dimension is completely nullified. Time itself doesn't even pass. So as Naruto and Haku would clear waves of demons, eventually this would force the best out of Naruto, activating and awakening his devil trigger fully for the first time. Armor plates would surround Naruto's body as wings would sprout from his back, and Naruto's capabilities would be changed tenfold. He would get 10 times stronger, Naruto rushing towards the direction of these demons as he would rip them to shreds, with he and Haku completing the entirety of this thing within 2 weeks. After this time would have passed, Naruto and Haku would have grown infinitely stronger, with Haku always getting injured alongside Naruto, but luckily for Naruto, he had the abilities of being Vergils' reincarnation, so Naruto could heal from wounds without weaving a single hand sign. Let me know down below if you guys actually get that reference, but regardless, eventually Naruto and Haku would find themselves at the throne room, and after doing so much growing on both of their sides, with Haku having become so incredibly powerful and completely getting a mastery over his Ice Kick Genkai, now capable of doing precision freezing and using his abilities as though it was a devil fruit almost. You guys know how Haku used all his abilities as jutsus, having to weave tons of hand signs before doing anything and having to essentially use it as if it was chakra related attacks. Haku, after spending so much time here and seeing the way that these creatures fight and seeing the way that Naruto advances in power, would have ended up looking at his abilities of the Ice Kick Genkai as something different than a jutsu, ultimately awakening a power that he had never thought he could use. But now, he was capable of placing his foot on the ground and simply shooting beams of massive shards of ice at things, freezing demons over, and placing his hands on the throats of demons and freezing their throats and crushing them. Haku would have become an incredibly powerful fighter. And with him kind of understanding that these things are not human, the toll of not wanting to kill them wouldn't exactly be something that's holding him back. So Haku would be able to use a full thing of his power. And once they would arrive to the throne room, Naruto would make his way there as he would see a man in a red jacket. Getting closer, he would see that they look similar, and Naruto, aiming his blade at him, would say, "Who are you?" The man would look at him and say, "I'm your brother," as he would stand off the throne telling him that it's been a while, Vergil. Naruto, turning towards the direction of Dante, would say, "What are you talking about? Who's Vergil?" As Dante, looking at him, would say, "Oh right, you lost all your memories when you decided to purify your soul, didn't ya? What a drag it's been, and lonely and boring leading this dimension without you. I wonder if you've at least retained some of your strength," Dante would say as he would rush in towards Naruto's direction, hitting him in the chest. He would have moved so fast Naruto couldn't even track him, and he would be sent flying across the room as Haku would get on guard, with Dante saying, "Don't bother. He's clearly not strong enough to handle me yet. Not fast enough, not strong enough, and doesn't even understand his devil trigger form yet." As he would end up awakening his Sin Devil trigger form and look at Naruto, telling him to get stronger and meet him again one day. He would then tell him to get lost, as Naruto, feeling all the wind having been taken out of his chest in this moment, looking towards the direction of this man, he would just feel anger. Like he just wants to beat him under all circumstances necessary for some reason. And so, knowing that this is not a fight he could win at the moment, he would retreat, cutting a dimensional rip hole, as he would use that hole itself to teleport back to the real world. Once he would do this, Haku, putting him over his shoulder, would end up dragging Naruto back across, as he would proceed to do some medical ninjutsu healing on him. And after this would be done, Naruto would wake up a couple of hours later, wondering who the hell that was. As Haku would say, "He said he was your brother," and Naruto says, "I didn't have any brother. I remember my birth. The only ones present were Minato and Kushina." And Haku, hearing this, would say, "Are you referring to the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze?" With Naruto saying, "Of course I am, that's my father." Haku would be stunned, saying that that explains a lot of his power, and Naruto would look at him saying that it actually explains nothing, saying that his father and him are so different it seems as though that might not even be his father. However, he can't deny that it is. At the end of the day, their eyes are the same, their face is the same, and even the blood running through their veins is the same. He would turn to Haku saying, but for some reason he feels like they're different. He can't quite explain it, but he knows it to be true. And Haku after this would essentially slump over as he would tell Naruto that that was way too much fighting, that they've barely had the chance to take a break, and he would collapse as he would then be treated by Naruto, who realizes that he pushed Haku way too far. Over the course of those weeks, he and Haku would have ended up becoming even more better friends over the course of that time, and he would treat his injuries as he would go back outside and continue training with one image in his mind, the image of Dante. Whoever that was, claiming to be his brother, he'll defeat him and make sure that he pays him back for that blow that he landed on him. That said, the month of training would finally come to an end, and in this timeline Naruto would have never even met Jiraiya, because remember, the only reason that they even encountered each other was because Naruto happened to be at the hot springs, which in this timeline he wasn't at. And secondly, the only reason that Jiraiya trained Naruto was because Naruto would have ended up using the sexy jutsu to, please Jiraiya's pervy nature. But in this timeline, Naruto doesn't have the sexy jutsu and would definitely not even want to request training from Jiraiya. So, eventually the day of the 1v1 battles would come around, and Naruto would enter the ring alongside Neji, who after 1 month of training would feel confident in his ability to handle a Kenjutsu user. The match would begin, and before anybody could even blink, Neji would be on the ground. Naruto in that moment hadn't even taken his sword out of its sheath, simply speed blitzing Neji so fast that his astral projection like creation would have rushed at Neji's direction without him even being able to see him with the Byakugan, as it would land a direct shot with the hilt of the blade right on his stomach. Right there where the bone is at, like it's above your stomach but close to your chest, so where your stomach and chest touch, and boom! He would have sent Neji flying to the edge of the arena, rolling on the ground unconscious, completely out of oxygen, trying to pant and breathe for some air. And Naruto would simply stand there, appearing to not have moved a single muscle. Neji at this point would be disqualified because he was unconscious, and people in the crowd would say, "What's going on? Why hasn't the..." As they would realize that Neji was knocked out. They would think to themselves if Naruto did that, but some of them would start speculating that maybe he just fell unconscious, maybe he had a stroke or something like that. People would start saying that, but they all know deep down that that kid, that demon, must have been responsible for this. And so, Naruto would make his way back to the stands as with a smile he would make his way towards Haku and wonder if Sasuke was going to be making an appearance. That said, Haku would end up facing off against his opponent, which is going to be a random character, I'm not really entirely sure, but he faces them and obviously just massacres them with the strength that he currently has, as the final match would be announced and it would be Sasuke versus Gaara of the Sand. The battle would begin, and just like in the original, Sasuke after landing a Chidori on Gaara would force him to transform into his partial transformation state. Gaara would rush out of the village in a panic as he would try to escape, and as that would take place, we would have the Konoha crush arc beginning. Naruto would turn to Haku, nodding at him, telling him to save as many people as he can, as he would rush after Sasuke and Gaara, thinking to himself that Sasuke's an idiot for trying to fight off against Gaara when he's in that state. Knowing the truth of Jinchuriki and tailed beasts, those things aren't made of chakra, at least not in the sense that this world thinks it to be, as he would rush towards the direction of Sasuke, with Kankuro trying to interfere in Naruto, telling him that he doesn't get any closer. His puppet would come out as he would tell Naruto to stay there, as Naruto would smirk and all of Kankuro's chakra threads would be cut into little pieces. Kankuro would be shook as Naruto would walk right past Kankuro, who would be holding his breath at that moment, fearful of what Naruto could have done to him, but he simply just walked past him and continued making his way towards Sasuke. Once he ended up arriving in front of him, he would have ended up seeing Gaara holding Sasuke up by the throat in his partial transformation state, telling him that he was not going to be getting in their way. and as Gaara turned to face Naruto, it was as though he had seen a demon himself. Naruto would rush in towards Shukaku's direction, with Shukaku creating a barrier of sand to protect him, but Naruto would cut clean through that thing, as Gaara's partial transformation tail would fall down to the ground, and Naruto, smiling at Gaara, will tell him that it's over. But in that moment, Shukaku would screech at Naruto as he would proceed to transform into his full transformation state, growing to kaiju-like proportions as he would shoot a tailed beast bomb at the direction of Naruto, who, seeing the thing flying at his direction, would cut it in half. Naruto at this point would then see tons of sand tendrils flying at his direction, as Naruto would get closer and closer to Gaara, cutting them into pieces, twirling mid-air, and then running on top of Gaara. As he would make his way towards the top, and knowing that Gaara wasn't the one in control, Naruto would walk towards the direction of Gaara slowly, tendrils from Gaara exploding as they would try to get closer to him, but Naruto was seemingly walking and not even having his hand on his blade. It would actually be Naruto's astral projection form, which would be destroying every single one of those sand attacks that Gaara would be shooting at him. As Naruto would inch closer to Gaara, his feet would begin to sink in the sand. But as Naruto felt that, he would feel annoyed that Shukaku hadn't given up at this point, as he would tap into his devil trigger form, and the moment that Shukaku could feel the power coming off of him, it's as though he would freeze, instantly delivering all control back to Gaara. As Gaara's body would fall down to the ground, Naruto watching it happen as he would land safely using his wings, and seeing Gaara's unconscious body, he would simply stare at him, wondering what will become of this man. As he would walk away, and Kankuro and Temari, getting closer to Naruto, seeing that their brother wasn't dead, would be grateful. They would take Gaara's body as they would leave the Leaf Village, and after this encounter would be over, Naruto would return back to the Leaf, where he would be greeted to the side of tons and tons of buildings being frozen over, as well as shinobis who were frozen solid by Haku. But the biggest thing that Naruto would learn was that Hiruzen, he was dead. Shortly after this, everybody in the village would hold a massive funeral for Hiruzen, as after this would take place, unlike in the original, Jiraiya would be the only one sent to go get Tsunade to return and become the 5th Hokage of the Leaf Village. But interestingly enough, I don't believe that without Naruto's intervention, she would have ended up accepting the role of Kage. We saw how reluctant she was and how much hatred she harbored in her heart. Also, there exists another question. Whether Tsunade would have accepted Orochimaru's deal without the intervention of Naruto and Jiraiya, because I'm honestly not sure. If we look at it from two different perspectives, things begin to change. A, she accepts the deal and would go with Orochimaru restoring his hands, thus pretty much making Orochimaru a way more powerful character and leaving the possibility of him actually having taken Sasuke's body being a real thing. Or secondly, we could have Tsunade dying a really untimely death way sooner than the original, because if she would have tried to betray him just like she would have in the original, that means that it would have only been Jiraiya and Tsunade versus Kabuto and Orochimaru. And me and you both know that Jiraiya wasn't enough to handle Orochimaru on his own. So what I can see actually happening is that Kabuto would have won the battle against Tsunade and potentially could have killed her. With that being the case, Jiraiya would have been left to pick up the pieces, trying to save Tsunade, but ultimately having her die in his arms. And both options are interesting ones for this specific video, but the one that I actually want to go with is the path where Tsunade accepts Orochimaru's offer. I don't think I've ever done that in any other of my videos, and I actually want to do that for the first time. So in this timeline, Naruto staying in the village means that instead of meeting Itachi and Kisame in the hotel room where he usually does in my videos, he's actually going to be encountering them in Konoha. He and Haku would be training, and as that would be happening, Kisame and Itachi would make their arrivals. With these two new shinobi being introduced to the story, I could see a lot actually beginning to change, with the first thing being the location of the fight, as well as the members who participate in this, because keep in mind, right now it's Haku and Naruto versus Kisame and Itachi. And Naruto, seeing the both of them getting closer towards them, would instantly ready himself for a fight, recognizing that Itachi bears a striking resemblance to his brother Sasuke. Naruto's knowledge of the Sharingan would lead him not to look Itachi directly in the eyes, and Haku would begin the battle by using a massive amount of ice to attack at the direction of Itachi and Kisame, who both leap out of the way either using the body flicker technique or the substitution jutsu. But regardless of what you want to say they choose, after this would take place, I could see Naruto rushing towards the direction of Kisame, with him wondering if he's any stronger than Zabuza. Naruto at this moment would rush towards Kisame's direction, as he would say, "How much stronger are you than Zabuza?" with Kisame smirking and saying that he was a weakling. He would then clash with Naruto's blade at Samehara, would have massive pieces of its shark skin beginning to tear off, thanks to Naruto's sharpness of his blade Yamato. In this moment, Naruto would begin to be pushed back slightly by the strength of Kisame, with Naruto holding back just to test the waters. But as Naruto would begin to be pushed back, Naruto would smirk, activating his devil trigger form, and all too quickly, Kisame would be cut into 3 distinct pieces. Kisame's body would fall down onto the ground, as Naruto, now turning towards Itachi, would see a look of shock on his face. Itachi, knowing that Kisame was no pushover by any means, would instinctively activate his Susanoo, feeling a level of desperation and fear seeing the man that was before him now. But Naruto, seeing the Tsukiyomi, would simply smile, thinking to himself that that's simply the watered down version of what he would encounter in hell, as he would rush towards the direction of Itachi and land a thunderous blow on Itachi's supposed perfect defense, the Yada mirror. Naruto would shatter that thing with his blade Yamato, as it was said that that thing could block any and all attacks. But in this moment, it didn't, and Itachi, seeing that his blade would have shattered, instantly would use a low-level genjutsu on Naruto, which, because of its finesse and timing of the genjutsu, this would actually lead Naruto to think that he would have killed Itachi. However, Itachi would have used the split second of Naruto being off guard to teleport out of there, or not teleport, but to essentially substitute himself out of there and begin running away from the area. As that would happen, the Jonin members who originally would have taken part in the fight against Itachi and Kisame would arrive, and they would see the body of a dead Akatsuki member on the ground. Naruto transformed into his devil trigger form, with them wondering what the heck is going on. Naruto at this point would go on to explain that they were here to capture him, and Naruto wasn't going for that, so he killed one, and the other, he got away. After word of this would reach the village higher-ups, the view of Naruto would begin changing rapidly in the village, with people acknowledging Naruto to be an incredible shinobi, and him immediately being named Konoha's newest Jonin ranked shinobi. With that being the case, Sasuke ends up finding news about Naruto and his brother's fight, and he would go on to question Naruto on what happened and how it went down. Naruto, after hearing Sasuke's insistent pushing and the way that he was going about it, would get pissed at Sasuke, essentially telling him to speak to him when he lowers his tone, telling him that he's not going to just talk to him however he wants. As Sasuke would grit his teeth looking at Naruto and walking away, simply thinking to himself that he hates him. He hates him so much. That said, shortly after this would take place, we would then get the Sasuke retrieval arc taking place, and interestingly enough, once Jiraiya would return from his mission to recruit Tsunade, after she would end up healing Orochimaru's arms, because that's the one we're going to be going for, we would have Jiraiya returning to the village, as he would essentially be forced to become Hokage, because he was either him or Danzo, and there was absolutely no way that Jiraiya was going to be allowing Danzo to come into power in the village. So, returning, he would end up finding out about the desertion of Sasuke Uchiha, and he would end up sending a couple Genin man squad with Naruto as the Jonin leader to lead them all. In the original, obviously it would have been Shikamaru, but now Naruto's the one in control, and he would go on to help the team eventually track Sasuke and lead him back to the village. That said, the moment in which Naruto would end up finding himself face to face with Kimimaro would come, and the moment that Naruto could see the state that Kimimaro was in, Naruto could immediately recognize that Kimimaro was sick, but sick beyond repair. Naruto, holding the hilt of his blade, would turn to Kimimaro, asking him if he's truly willing to die for this cause. with Kimimaro saying that he owes his life to Orochimaru. Naruto, turning to Kimimaro, would ask what life that exactly is, telling him that he knows that he only has a couple of moments left, if not weeks, before he finally croaks and hits the bucket. Kimimaro, well aware of this, turning to Naruto, would tell him that he's aware, as he would rush in towards Naruto's direction, trying to land a whip that he would have created with his own bones, his spine in fact, on Naruto, but Naruto would have easily dodged out of the way, telling Kimimaro that he could cure him. Kimimaro, hearing this, would continue fighting Naruto, convinced that he must be lying to him, telling him that he's gonna perform his mission regardless of his health, and he would rush in at Naruto, trying to land attack after attack on him. Naruto, however, seeing the desperation in his eyes and just how fiercely loyal he was to Orochimaru, Naruto would wonder if he could somehow convince Kimimaro to join him instead. Naruto in this moment would whip out his blade Yamato, as cutting a hole in space-time, Kimimaro rushing into the portal would enter a new dimension. One where Naruto was able to walk straight through the portal, and Kimimaro, seeing the flames and the scorched air that was causing his lungs to start failing him, would start breathing heavily, going, "Where are we? Where did you take me?" As Naruto, turning to Kimimaro, would ask him if he wants to live longer. And Kimimaro, turning towards Naruto, would hold this fighting position, with Naruto telling him that if he won't accept it, he will kill him. Naruto in this moment would go on to unsheath his blade, beginning to pull it ever so slightly from its sheath, as Kimimaro, looking to Naruto and seeing the look in his eyes of he wants to actually help him, Kimimaro would ask Naruto what exactly he has in mind. I mean, after all, he has nothing left to lose, and Kimimaro himself can understand that the opponent that he faces is not one that he's doing so to win, but simply to stall time for Sasuke, who at this point would have been running towards the direction of Orochimaru. And Naruto, though being the mission leader of this, wouldn't care whether Sasuke left or not. At the end of the day, he was going to go train with Asani that Naruto knows that he could defeat at any given moment. So with that being said, he would turn towards the direction of Kimimaro and tell him to follow him. Kimimaro would follow him, holding his hand over his nose as he would cough over and over, and blood would begin coming out. Naruto, making his way towards the direction of a massive demon, would proceed to cut its stomach right open, as he would proceed to get a small vial and, pretty much scoop up the blood of the demon and bring it to Kimimaro, which I'm not sure if this would actually work, Devil May Cry lore, but I've always wanted Kimimaro to join Naruto and be an active part of the story. So with this character that pretty much is able to have access to all these cool things, I'm giving him sort of solo leveling lore in the sense that the blood of a demon can heal somebody. And so what would take place is that Naruto, giving Kimimaro this blood, would proceed to heal him in exchange for his humanity. Kimimaro in this moment, his eyes, or one of them at least, would turn black, as the pupil itself would change colors, and he would stare at Naruto, feeling that weakness finally leave his body. He would squeeze his hand, feeling strength finally covering him, and looking to Naruto, he would ask why he did it, and how he did it. Naruto in this moment would sit on the demon's corpse, as he would then ask Kimimaro where he believes they are. Kimimaro would explain to him that he believes that this is a genjutsu, looking at Naruto still not trusting him, as Naruto would tell Kimimaro to try to break out of it then. Kimimaro would attempt this but would be completely unable, and it'd be at this point that Naruto would go on to tell Kimimaro that they're in hell. Kimimaro's eyes would widen, as Naruto would tell him that the cure to his problems was demon blood, but in exchange, it robbed him of his humanity. Kimimaro, looking to the direction of Naruto, would ask him if this was really true, and Naruto would tell him that he's not lying. Look around, flames, demons, air that hurts your lungs and scorches your skin, worms that never die. What else does this sound like? Kimimaro, looking at Naruto's direction, would be shocked, stunned, as realizing that Naruto wasn't lying, he would ask Naruto why he helped him, with Naruto looking at him and saying bluntly, "I saw how fiercely loyal you were to Orochimaru, and he enslaved you. I delivered you. I guess I was just wondering how much more loyal you would be to me." Kimimaro in this moment would look at Naruto, and realizing that Naruto had given him a second opportunity at life, would turn to Naruto, saying he'll be very loyal. As Naruto would smile, saying, "Good, let's return to the village." He would not even care about Sasuke or retrieving him, knowing that if Sasuke wants to leave the village, then he can leave the village. But the next time that he sees him, if he doesn't come back willingly, he'll kill him. That said, Naruto would rush back to the direction of his teammates, as Haku would have ended up, unlike in the original. You guys remember how the Sand siblings would have arrived to help Shikamaru, to help Neji, I believe, as well as Kiba? Unlike in the original, now Haku's going to be the one that would have helped out with those battles, which is why he wasn't there when Naruto faced off against Kimimaro, which, speaking of, Haku would have been able to defeat Kimimaro by himself in this timeline, but luckily for him, he didn't have to. After the mission would be over, Naruto would end up taking his teammates back to Konoha, where once there, he would end up debriefing Jiraiya on everything that would have taken place during that mission, and how he was unable to ultimately capture Sasuke and return him here. He would, however, say that one of Orochimaru's men ended up joining them after he showed him mercy. And Jiraiya would slam his hand on the table, saying, "Damn it, Naruto! I ordered you to bring Sasuke back to the village, and instead, you brought a rogue shinobi?" Naruto would look to the direction of Jiraiya, telling him that Sasuke wanted to leave. That was his decision. He's grown enough to make his own decisions, as he would simply say that he was only bringing back help, that this person was going to be an invaluable asset to the team. Plus, with Sasuke gone, their team's missing a member. As Jiraiya would sigh and say, "Guess there's nothing we could do about it, kid. It's just another case of Orochimaru. You understand that with Sasuke gone, the likelihood that Orochimaru will take his body actually exists now?" With Naruto looking to Jiraiya, saying that he was never really a fan of him anyways, would go on to tell Jiraiya that that was his decision, and if he's stupid enough to let that snake wrap its fangs around him, then he deserves it. He would walk out of the room as Jiraiya would think to himself, "Minato, why couldn't your son be more like you? I guess it can't be helped." He would list Sasuke off as a rogue shinobi, and after this would happen, Naruto would remain in the village instead of in the original leaving with a training journey with Jiraiya. A, because Jiraiya is the Hokage, so he can't just leave his post, and B, because Naruto just doesn't have to. Naruto would actually take part in a new team called Team Rocket, one of the most elite names I could have chosen. It would consist of Haku, Kimimaro, Naruto, and Kakashi as their sensei. After the events that would have led up to this moment and everything that happens in the story, Sakura having left the event of the Chunin Exams, never having the moments that she would have in the original, never would have ended up getting the conviction necessary to continue on being a shinobi. And without Tsunade in the village training her to be a medical ninja, this means that she never gains the monster strength, never gains healing abilities, and definitely doesn't get the 100 healing jutsu. Sakura would give up on being a shinobi, and ultimately, with Sasuke out of the village, she would even give up on him. That said, the new Team 7, or Team Rocket, would proceed to take care of multiple missions for Jiraiya, and they would be the most elite group of shinobi that he had in the village. Kimimaro, after ingesting that demon blood, would have become incredibly more powerful, thanks to having a Jinchuriki-like healing factor and also gaining new abilities to his Keiki Genkai that he never thought he would have before. And some of you guys might be wondering, why did Naruto even know about that ability? Well, it's because while Naruto and Haku would have ended up making their way to the demon dimension, Naruto would have actually ended up nearly having Haku die. So, Naruto would have ended up pretty much deciding that the only chance he possibly had to save him was to give him demon blood, having met a sentient demon, which essentially helped them through the entire thing after having, wussed out and deciding that it wasn't worth it to die against them. So with that being the case, Naruto would have learned about that ability through Haku and simply replicated it, using that to heal Kimimaro. That being the case, the 3-year time skip would be over, and after that would be the case, Naruto would have learned 2 primarily brand new techniques. Number 1, his Sin Devil Trigger form, which would be a form much more powerful than his original Devil Trigger form, and he would have also learned how to use the Yamato blade to use it similarly to how his father would have fought long ago, by using a flying Raijin-like technique and cutting through the dimension, appearing and reappearing though he was teleporting, using his blade to move so incredibly fast that mid-battle Naruto would simply teleport out of the way and you wouldn't have even seen the flicker of his hand move. A portal opened and closed, and before you knew it, the blade was stabbed into your chest, heart, throat, or just simply made your head collapse from its body. That said, I think it's pretty safe to say to acknowledge that Naruto at this point in the story has grown far more powerful than I had thought I was even going to make him to this point. It's to the point where he could defeat high-ranking shinobi like Pain and Obito without even having a second thought, without his Devil Trigger. Naruto's cutting ability would be so fast that Obito wouldn't even have the time to react and become intangible before his head hit the floor. That's how incredibly fast this version of Naruto is. And that's not mentioning his dimension cutting slash, which is a technique he would have worked on over the course of this time, an ability that cuts through every dimension feasible. So say Kamui went into his, sorry, not Kamui, but say Obito went into his Kamui dimension and Naruto used this slash would cut him in the normal world and in every other world, meaning that Kamui would be botched, like it's not going to be working against Naruto. It's absolutely broken. So with that being the case, instead of us getting Naruto returning to the village like in the original, Team 7 or Team Rocket, whatever it is the name that I actually gave them, would end up being told by Jiraiya that they need to go assist the Kazekage Gaara because he has just been kidnapped by members of the Akatsuki. Naruto, at the moment of hearing the name Akatsuki, knowing that that group was all bad news, would decide that their team will definitely help, as using his blade they would teleport straight to the Sand Village, where once arriving there, Lady Chiyo, seeing a portal arrive, would try to attack, but Naruto would grab her by the hand, asking why this old lady's trying to attack him. It'd be at this point that Temari, coming forward, would go on to explain that her brother Gaara was kidnapped by the Akatsuki, and Kankuro would debrief them on what he knows about the situation. Unfortunately for Kankuro, he's gonna die in this timeline, because without Sakura being there with her medical ninjutsu, I just don't think that he would have not had the opportunity to train under Tsunade, so I just don't see Haku having the ability to actually heal Kankuro. So Kankuro's death happens in this timeline, and after this, the team would end up finally encountering the Akatsuki inside of a random base that the team would burst inside of. Kakashi in this moment would have actually ended up becoming one of Naruto's boys after all this time, and he would actually look to Naruto as though he was the real leader, him having surpassed him long ago, with Kakashi mainly offering tactical advice and stuff like that, and him only really being the leader because of the fact that, well, he's kind of the oldest of the bunch and has the more experience, but strength, that's Naruto, and whenever they're in a pinch, they look to Naruto to save them from it. So regardless of this, the second that the opening would be created, Haku would proceed to shut them all inside of this by freezing every inch of that entire cave, making it so that Deidara had absolutely zero escape route. After that would be over, Kakashi, using his Kamui, would snipe the head of Deidara off similarly to what he would have done to his arm, as Deidara's body would fall down to the ground, and before Sasori could even see it, he was cut into millions of little pieces by Naruto, who teleported behind him and teleported back to where he was standing before any of them could even react. After that would happen, Naruto, seeing that Gaara had become incredibly weak thanks to him losing his tailed beast, would proceed to simply take the body of Gaara and go to the demon dimension, where he would pour some blood into Gaara's mouth and Gaara's strength would return to him, with him actually having gained new powers and more strength, because Shukaku was possibly one of the lower ranking demons that they had in hell. But the one that he had given him access to was a general that tried standing up to him long ago, but obviously he's dead now. So yeah, Gaara would end up returning back to the Sand Village and once again becoming the Kazekage, thanking Naruto for what he had done for him and also questioning why he feels different. Naruto would go on to explain that he had pretty much stripped him of his humanity, or most of it at least, saying that he's only now really a human in appearance, as Gaara, understanding what had had to take place in order for him to return to the village, would nonetheless thank Naruto for this opportunity, and we would then get Naruto and the team returning to the village. After this would happen, we would then get the immortal duo arc, which consists of Hidan and Kakuzu, and safe to say that if in the original Naruto was able to take Kakuzu out, this new team of incredibly busted and powerful shinobis was going to be making child's play out of the situation. That said, they take care of those members of the Akatsuki, and after that would finally be over, thanks to Jiraiya being Hokage, he would never go off in search of Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki, meaning that he would remain in the village when Pain would ultimately attempt to take Naruto. With this happening, Naruto would have taken major damage, this time being part of the explosion that would have decimated the village, and would have actually been pierced by multiple pieces of debris. But because of his healing factor, he was simply able to take them out of his body and arrive face to face with whoever was responsible for this. He would stand in front of the paths of pain, as Kakashi, Kimimaro, and Haku would stand at his side. Naruto would say a 4v6 hardly seems fair, as the Diva Path would look at him seriously, telling him that they shall know Pain. As Naruto would smirk, asking Pain if he wants to maybe try recruiting a few more gingers before their fight, with Pain looking at Naruto with a serious expression, as Naruto would have a slight chuckle appear on his face, and he would then turn towards the direction of Haku, who was kind of holding his laugh in because Naruto's joke did not hit. He would then see that Naruto had kind of like a grin, or not like a growl, kind of, no, not a growl, but like a scowl. What's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know, but he just does not look happy, right? He doesn't look pleased. Regardless of this, Naruto in one swift movement would proceed to teleport in front of the Diva Path, and before he could even use his ability to push Naruto away, Naruto would already sever his head from his body, as at this point, Kimimaro, tapping into the second stage of the curse mark, would blitz towards the Ashura Path, destroying it, leaving nothing behind, as Haku would freeze two paths, and Kakashi, using his Kamui, would destroy the King of Hell Path, as every single one of them would die, and Naruto now in this moment would look on at the village that he had lived his entire life in. Naruto would feel real anger, as seeing the devastation and destruction that the Diva Path would have caused in the village, he would feel rage. At this point, Naruto would use his sensory abilities, which he would have picked up over the course of the last 3 years, to track down Nagato, the real body. And once arriving there, Naruto would essentially end up stabbing his blade into Nagato, taking Nagato's eyes for himself, not necessarily using them, and killing Konan, who would have tried to stop Naruto. But being completely unsuccessful, she would lose her life, and the last thing she would see would be Naruto killing Pain. Naruto in this moment would begin to leave the area, but as he does so, he would hear a chilling voice from the corner of the room saying, "Leaving so soon?" It would be Obito in his orange mask, as he would turn to Naruto and question him on whether he was going to truly take those eyes with him. Naruto, turning to Obito, would wonder who this man is, and Obito would simply say that his name is Madara Uchiha. Naruto, at hearing the mention of another Uchiha name, would simply just think, another Uchiha, as he would look at Obito, asking him if he truly has some sort of death wish, saying that if he knows what's good for him, then he'll leave right now, instead of losing his life in a pathetic attempt to try to stop him. Obito, however, wouldn't listen to this, and try to speed blitz Naruto, trying to kill him with one singular blow, seeing just how powerful Naruto was. But before Obito could do a thing, Naruto would use a slash on Obito's body, which would go right through him. And Naruto, seeing that the blade would have done nothing to Obito, would actually become giddy, knowing that he could finally use his dimension-cutting slash on the perfect testing dummy. Naruto would watch Obito fly at him in slow motion seemingly, as Naruto would quick draw his blade, and an aura of blue energy would come off of it mixed with red, as it would look somewhat purple, blue, and red all at the same time. It would slash Obito, and Obito would feel himself be cut down, as Obito's body would hit the ground, and Naruto, seeing this happen, would smirk, thinking to himself that he truly had achieved power. But as he did that, an image was burned in his mind, the image of Dante, his brother, the one man he knew he couldn't beat. Naruto, after taking out the Akatsuki and removing all of the threats to the story up to this point, would return back to the village where he would continue his training, and for the following next years, Naruto would continue getting stronger and stronger, as eventually Naruto would essentially ended up having kids with Ino, or a kid, which he would have named Nero. It would be a young boy that looked more like Ino than it did him, but funny enough, Naruto would actually have no clue of the fact that he even had a child with Ino, with him viewing her as a one-night stand similar to what Vergil would have done with the mother of his son, Nero. That being the case, eventually the time would come where Hinata's little sister Hanabi would be kidnapped, if not Hinata herself, and with that being the case, Naruto and the team would have been sent off to go search for them. They would end up finding the portal that leads between Earth and the Moon, and the events of Naruto the Last would take place. With Naruto going up against the strongest shinobi he had met up to this point, he would face off against Toneri, who, similarly enough, feels kind of the same to him. The Otsutsuki are a derivative of a family of demons that are extremely powerful, and so this demon particularly would actually push Naruto's human form, leading him to actually awaken his devil trigger form. But once that ability was brought out to the table, much like how Naruto was able to one-shot Toneri once he took the battle seriously, that's exactly what happened. Cutting him to pieces, Toneri would die, and unlike in the original where he was spared and told about the truth about Hamura Otsutsuki, that would never happen. But Naruto, now aware of the fact that there exists a planet of space-like aliens that are derivatives from the dimension of hell, would now have his interest piqued, as Naruto would find new training dummies that he could use, and it would be an entire planet full of Otsutsukis. Naruto would open a portal straight to their world, as he, arriving all by himself, would stand face to face with a bunch of weird looking creatures. They have strange colored eyes, white skin, grayish, bluish, whitish hair, and they all seem to have weird traits. Some of them having horns, some of them having strange Byakugan-like eyes. But Naruto, seeing all this, would simply grin as he would tap into his devil trigger mode and proceed to start tearing through these people like he was Omni-Man, going through that city and just destroying everybody. And in case you guys don't get that reference, then how about Zabuza when he tore through all of Gato's men, and he did it so easily. Using the Yamato, he would have teleported straight to different members and killed them, tearing them to pieces, ripping out their eyes, shoving his blade in their esophagus, and ultimately bringing a squadron of Otsutsuki to their knees. They would feel so much fear at the presence of Naruto even just being there, as they would kneel down before him, and Naruto would simply have a smirk, telling them to put Earth on the ban list, and also asking if that seemingly planet ice wasteland was done by them. They would go on to say yes, it was, as Naruto would say he's glad he could find that out, telling them that he's happy they have an understanding now, as he would apologize for the deaths of many of their members, and he would then leave, creating another portal, as they would all watch on in fear as Naruto would have left that society. Literal Otsutsuki children would have been massacred by Naruto, who would have cared not at all for their kind, seeing them as nothing but demons. Naruto at this point would go back to Earth, where Naruto would actually arrive at a random village, this time having been off with his teleportation. As arriving outside of a random crowded street, Naruto would accidentally end up bumping into a young thug-looking character, who, looking at him, would say, "Hey, watch where you're going, you damn..." But looking at Naruto's eyes and his aura and presence, this man just straight up is just like, My bad, sorry about that," and he runs away. Naruto at this point would walk through the village, realizing that he's actually in the village hidden in the clouds. And as he wanders through the village, wondering what this village is like, eventually some shinobi would go over to Naruto, asking him to tell them who he is, since Naruto did have a Leaf Shinobi headband on him. Naruto at this point would tell them that that's none of their business, as they would go on to say that it is, drawing kunais to Naruto, as Naruto in an instant would unsheath his blade and the kunais would fall to the ground, as the ninjas, seeing that Naruto would have moved so fast he was able to do that to them before they realized, would drop their weapons and take a couple of steps back. It'd be at this point that Naruto had decided that his visit here was over, that he would begin to teleport away, but as he did that, the Raikage of the village, who would have been strolling by, seeing Naruto and seeing the headband, would have rushed him with no second thought. But before he could even take hold of him, he would have teleported out of there, similarly to what his father Minato would have done years ago. In this moment, the Raikage would yell out saying, "Damn it, who was that?" And after further looking into it, he would end up finding out that that was the son of the Yellow Flash, Naruto Namikaze, a shinobi so dangerous he had a flee on sight order placed on him. This would piss the Raikage off, knowing that the Leaf was spying on their village, as he would end up pretty much sending a proclamation telling them that they're not allowed to come to their village and try to wage war. Naruto would eventually be called up to the Hokage's office by Jiraiya, as he would ask him what the heck the meaning of this is. Naruto would say he didn't wage war, in fact he wasn't spying. He just happened to stop in there after he had killed some aliens. As Jiraiya, hearing aliens, would be stunned, saying, "What are you talking about, Naruto?" With Naruto explaining that he's referring to the ancestors, or the descendants, or whatever it is that the word I'm looking for is, of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Jiraiya, hearing this, would sit at the tip of his seat as he would ask Naruto if all that stuff was really true, and Naruto would tell Jiraiya he could even show him the planet, saying that their world, it's a world-ending alien race, powerful enough to destroy this planet all by themselves. Only one member's required for that. Jiraiya, hearing that, would be stunned, as Naruto would go on to tell him not to worry, that he already killed thousands of them, and that he made sure to put Earth on their block list. That said, Jiraiya would start sweating as he would realize that the day that Naruto dies, he might have just ended up sealing their fate, but Naruto would smirk, confident that he's not going to be dying a quick death. As he would then think back to his last bit of unfinished business, he would teleport in front of Dante in the castle, as he would stare at him and say, "Let's go again, Dante." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I'm going to be ending What If Naruto Was Vergils' Reincarnation. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought about this specific what if, and also huge shout out to the person who commissioned this video. Thank you so much, dude. It really does help out the channel a ton. And for those of you guys that have made it this far, really sorry for the weird little background staticky noise that sometimes happens in my videos. I'm not sure what it is, but I think I need to buy myself a new interface, but I just don't have the money for it right now. So for the next couple of videos, we're gonna just have to deal with it for a bit. And this video was supposed to be 2 hours, and lately I've been realizing when the videos are 2 hours, you guys seem to be more inclined to watch them. So for the last couple of minutes that was gonna be 2 hours, I'm just gonna leave a black screen for people to click on it, being like, "Oh, it's a 2-hour video," but really it's only an hour 50 minutes. But hey, they don't gotta know that. They don't gotta know that. But regardless, it has been your boy Xehther. I'll see you guys next time. I love each and every single one of you guys. Peace.